Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're unpacking this really fascinating psychological paradox that, let's be honest, almost all of us have experienced. Think about it for a second. You want to save the planet, right? You care about the environment. But when you're actually at the mall or, just scrolling online late at night, you still somehow end up buying that cheap, trendy t-shirt. Why is it so incredibly hard to align our environmental values with our actual shopping habits? Well, let's figure it out. To really understand the scale of this problem, just consider this number for a moment, 2,700. That's 2,700 liters of fresh water, and that is the massive amount required to produce just one single cotton shirt. I mean, think about how many shirts you've got hanging in your closet right now. The sheer volume of natural resources that gets poured into our everyday clothing, it's absolutely staggering. And it gets crazier. When you multiply that single shirt by global demand, you get this truly shocking figure, 79 billion cubic meters of water. That's how much is consumed globally every single year by the fast fashion industry. According to the research we're diving into today, this colossal environmental footprint actually makes the fashion industry the second most polluting industry on Earth. It generates just massive amounts of waste and toxic chemical runoff. Which brings us to the absolute core question of today's explainer. Why do we keep buying fast fashion if we know the devastating environmental cost? It creates this intense cognitive dissonance for us. We feel guilty, yet we just keep clicking add to cart. To understand why we do this, we really need to look deep into the psychology behind our consumer choices. Okay, let's dive right into this first section, the intention-behavior gap, myth versus reality. So psychologists and researchers actually have a name for this specific phenomenon. They call it the intention-behavior gap. It's basically that frustrating space between what we believe we should do and what we actually end up doing when it's time to pull out the credit card. It perfectly contrasts the myth of the perfectly ethical consumer with, our actual reality. On one hand, our intentions are totally pure, right? We care deeply for the environment. We actively say we want to support green products, but our actual behavior tells a totally different story. When push comes to shove, we're heavily influenced by super cheap prices and fast-moving trends. And it leaves us feeling, frankly, kind of like hypocrites. Moving on to section 2, decoding the data through a systematic review. To figure out how to actually close this gap, we're looking at a super rigorous 2025 academic study from the Journal of Business Administration's researches. These researchers set out to systematically decode this exact consumer behavior pattern, and they used something called a PRISMA flowchart. Let's translate that academic jargon for a second. This is simply a very precise framework used to sift through hundreds of global studies. So the researchers didn't just guess here. They used this strict filter to find definitive, purely data-backed answers about our incredibly complex shopping habits. Here's how they did it. The researchers started with a massive initial search that yielded 476 articles. After rigorously weeding out duplicates, irrelevant data, and studies that frankly lacked a high impact factor, they narrowed it all down to a goldmine of exactly 41 highly cited, top-tier articles published between 2013 and 2023. This is literally the absolute cream of the crop when it comes to sustainable fashion research. All right, section 3. What actually drives sustainable choices? So, what did this absolute mountain of data reveal? Well, the researchers discovered exactly what psychological levers trigger us to bypass fast fashion and actually buy green. They identified 32 specific components that dictate our behavior, and they grouped them into these 7 main constructs you're seeing here. Basically, every single time you even consider buying a sustainable garment, a really complex combination of these 7 factors, things like your underlying motivation, your demographics, and your awareness, is actively influencing your brain. So the crucial point here is understanding this specific concept of sustainable value. The researchers define this as the perceived, functional, symbolic, and experiential benefits a consumer gains. What that really means is we don't just want a shirt made of organic cotton simply because it's good for the earth. No, we need to feel like we're getting a superior experience out of it, a sense of social identity, maybe even a bit of a status symbol. The sustainability actually has to add tangible, personal value to the person wearing it. The data also revealed a super fascinating psychological formula. It goes like this: high fashion awareness plus low perceived risk equals green purchase intention. Simply put, when people actually understand the environmental impact, that's the awareness part, and they don't feel any major financial or social risk in buying the product, their desire to buy sustainably absolutely skyrockets. But wait, the researchers found a secret ingredient that completely bridges the gap, and that is customer involvement.
This is the ultimate mediating variable. When brands actively involve consumers, really making them feel like they're a core part of the sustainable journey rather than just like passive buyers, it directly translates into green purchase intentions. Basically, involvement is the spark that turns an intention into actual behavior.
Which leads us to Section 4, the solution, embracing the circular economy.
So we know the psychology now, but how do we actually apply it to fix this massive global environmental problem? Well, for decades, we've heavily relied on this very toxic linear economy. Take, make, dispose. It's completely unsustainable. And this brilliantly illustrates the absolute necessity of moving to a circular economy instead. We're talking reduce, reuse, recycle, and repair. It's a closed-loop ecological system that is specifically designed to minimize waste and absolutely maximize the lifespan of every single garment. Now, a massive part of this circular model is something called collaborative consumption. This is a really cool cooperative model where consumers share, rent, or swap products rather than individually owning them. Think about it not just as a dry economic model, but as a personal lifestyle upgrade. It completely satisfies our psychological craving for new trends and fresh styles, but totally skips the devastating environmental waste. To really make this work, brands need to fully embrace the 5 dimensions of slow fashion, which were identified by researchers Young and Jin. Those are equality, authenticity, localism, exclusivity, and functionality. These specific values, they perfectly align with what the modern, conscious consumer secretly craves anyway. We want clothes that actually mean something, that are made ethically, and then offer this unique, functional exclusivity that you just literally cannot get from mass-produced fast fashion. And finally, Section 5, changing how we shop. As we look toward the future, how do we permanently change how we shop? Like, how do we use brand responsibility to close that intention behavior gap for good? Well, the study's ultimate conclusion is that education is the absolute ultimate catalyst for sustainable consumption. It is just not enough to simply hang green products on a rack and hope for the best. The research proves that future educational programs are absolutely essential to permanently change shopping behaviors. We have to teach consumers exactly how to reduce clothing waste, how to understand the whole life cycle of their garments, and how to actively adopt sustainable practices. Knowledge really is the key that finally shifts behavior.
Which leaves us with this final question. Will your next clothing purchase be a true reflection of your deeply held values, or just another disposable trend? Honestly, the next time you feel that urge to buy something really cheap and really fast, I want you to remember those 2,700 liters of water. Remember that intention behavior gap, because you have the power to change this entire industry with every single purchase you make. Thank you so much for exploring this fascinating data with me today. Keep asking questions and keep seeking to understand the world around you.